Hey, it's the Midnight Raven, and welcome to another It's Not All Doom and Gloom podcast episode. If you're new to the podcast or the channel, I am the Midnight Raven. You may think I look a bit disheveled today, but as the UK seems to have been hotter than hell recently, or apparently the Bahamas, I am sitting comfortably and coolly in my house. So today we are looking at some more self-discovery journal prompts. If you have been with me on this discovery, this is season 2 of the podcast. I know, the Raven has been working her tushy off. So today we are looking at another 5 self-discovery prompt questions. You can share as little or as much as you like in the chat. Please try and like and subscribe and share this out. And without any further ado, let's find out what torture we are in today, because these questions sometimes we go deep. Next, what distractions are hindering your growth? So what distractions are hindering your growth? So it doesn't say what type of growth. Does it mean what's hindering your maturity? What's hindering you getting further in life? What's hindering you doing a project, getting married? What's hindering growth? So I think we're probably looking at what's hindering you just growing as a person, maybe just looking at the bigger picture of how you have been growing over the last couple of years. Have you found a partner? Have you found a new job? Have you moved house? Do you have any goals that you actually want to achieve this year? Me, what distractions are hindering my growth would probably be my own worries, my own disbelief. I think most of my hindrance for my growth is personal. Mental health being one of them. Top ding 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 answer would be what's hindering my growth would be my mental health. Being uncertain of what I want would probably be another one. I've had a lot of ups and downs in the last maybe couple of years of my life, and sometimes you're just not sure where you then fit in or what you want, and then it's working out what you want. But then once you've worked out what you want, it's then working out how to get it. And then because of your mental health, that hill seems 10 times higher, 10 times longer, seems like a lot of effort, and the distractions are then monumental, from just a tiny thing to like mega. So the distractions that hinder my growth are all personal. Now, they can be worked through. We're not saying that, just because you're having a bit of a blip doesn't mean you still can't grow. It just means it's going to take time. You're going to have to take step by steps. You might have to go one step back to go one step forward. You might have to change your slight goals if your hindrances are causing that much of a problem. Maybe you need to grow in a different way, challenge yourself a bit different. So hindrances, as much as they are a pain, sometimes it could make you rethink, change your idea, maybe challenge yourself a bit different. So the distractions that are hindering my growth are all personal. Yours may be different. Let me know down below what's hindering your growth. For whatever you're trying to achieve, whether it's personally, at work, your relationships, or just basically in life. So that is question 1. We are done and dusted in under 4 minutes. Raven loves a really short podcast. I don't know about you, but I like my podcast about 30 minutes long. Question 2. Now, they always get more interesting the further we go along. Set a 2-minute timer and write everything you appreciate about yourself. Okay, so I need to give you, let's give me 5. We'll give you 5 things that I appreciate myself. That's about 2 minutes, right? So something you appreciate about yourself. I appreciate my kindness. You will meet no one kinder than me. I give away my money, my time, my emotional support. Sometimes my mental health takes a knock from all that I give, which can be a bad thing. But the kindness that I share to people is tenfold. I would say I'm probably one of the kindest people, and I think my kids would atone to that, even though they're probably favoritism because I'm their mum. I am so kind, whether it's my time or my advice, just listening to somebody. I think I'm pretty kind. Something else I appreciate about myself: honesty. Number two, honesty. I appreciate my honesty. If you are rubbing me up the wrong way, if you're doing the wrong thing, Raven's going to tell you. I hate to tell you, but I am a stickler for honesty in the workplace, at home, in a relationship. If you are doing something that knocks me, if you're doing something that gets on my nerves, if you're doing something wrong, or if you're doing something right, you're going to hear about it, because Raven believes in honesty. There is nothing more important in relationships with two people or within a family dynamic is honesty. No white lies, no backstabbing. If you got something to say, come out with it. Next, something else I appreciate about myself. My patience. Patience. I think patience, as they say, is a virtue, but I think nowadays, patience is a gift. I think anyone that can be patient, in this day and age, in such a fast-paced world, patience for anything, patience when it comes to queuing up for a coffee, patience for the line to the loo where you're like tutting and humming, and just patience in general. Some people just like they're in such a rush to get somewhere. Sometimes they're just the nastiest people, pushing and shoving and skipping queues, and just have a bit of patience. We're all going to die at some point. Do you really want to rush to the finish line? That's how I see it. Something else I appreciate about myself: how deeply I love. I love very deeply. When I fall for somebody, they get the Raven's heart, hook, line, and sinker. Although I do leave a teeny bit for myself, which I do have a little bit of my heart that is guided. You can't give everything to a man or a person, but I do have a part of my heart that I do keep closed. A little tiny me has to have a little bit that's a bit. But I think the amount I love, that I appreciate about myself, that I can actually love somebody. I came out of a very long-term relationship many, many years ago, and I have found somebody else I am now in love with. Yes, the Raven has found her man. And I'm in love again. And I never thought I could be. You get hurt so bad, and you cry yourself to sleep at night, and you play it over and over in your head where things went wrong, and then it's been 5 years now, and I have now found a new person. So the Raven didn't give up. She wasn't sure whether she could love again, but a broken heart does heal. It just takes time, and that's individual to each person. So, and one more thing I appreciate about myself: I think my generosity. I think this comes again under being kind, the generousness of my time, my money, me personally. I think I am generous in everything I do, whether it was advice or lending money or just being a good person to people. You can be generous in lots of ways. It doesn't have to be like money. You can be generous with your time, generous with your advice, generous with your patience. So I would say I'm kind. Honesty, patience, love, and generosity would be what I appreciate about myself. Okay, next question. Which areas of your life are the most stressful for you? Areas of my life. Okay, I'm going to pick two for this. So the most stressful thing in my life would be my mental health. And then the other stressful would be financial. And I think that goes for everyone. So let's go through this. So the area of my life that is most stressful for me is my mental health. Not going to lie, mental health for me, one day I feel fine. The next day I am bottom of the row. I have inconsistencies with my mental health. I can go for weeks feeling like I'm kind of okay, and then I will have a few days where I'm just low. I don't want to get up. I don't want to do anything. I struggle to just want to be here sometimes. Life can throw so many curveballs at you, and it can just be like really, really heavy. And then the other thing most stressful for me would be financially. In this economy at the minute, it is so bad. It is so bad. I don't work myself. I am off for my mental health because the days are just not good for me. And financially, I only get benefits. I don't actually work. I don't get any extra help. I get the standard rate in the UK. I don't get anything for having mental health. But trying to just afford the mundane things of like bread and milk. You go into a shop and you are just stressed to the nines. I mean, people used to love shopping, and I think nowadays, even food shopping, the most basic of shopping, you dread going into a supermarket to see how much the prices have changed. And that can change from week to week. We're not talking like the annual rise in prices once a year. We're talking fluctuating every single week. So I think the mental health stresses that I have, they're not helped by then financially having problems as well. Are they problems I could rectify? Mental health has been looked at. I am due to have more counseling. The financial thing, there's nothing I can really do about that. I do Vinted on the side to try and bring some extra money in. I do car boots once in a while. I am productive when it comes to trying to bump up my finances, but you bump them up and the money's just gone when you get it in because it's paying another bill, or it's going on the cheese that's now astronomical and came from a golden cow. So financial and mental health would be the most stressful things I have right now. And I think it probably goes for everybody, if I'm really honest. I don't think anybody is enjoying this economy right now. And I think we're all struggling and hustling and trying to get that second, third, fourth job and bring some more money in just to help. And then obviously lockdown happened, so that didn't do anyone's mental health any good. And then prices escalated, and it's not been a good couple of years. So next question: what's one thing that happened last year that made you truly happy? Last year, okay, one thing from last year that made me truly happy. Truly happy. I think the thing that would have made me truly happy was trying to get myself a bit more mentally health sound. I did a year's worth of counselling last year. Not ashamed to say I did a year's worth of counselling. I had a pretty rough year. I had some medical issues. My son was having some medical issues. Thankfully, we've both had some answers now. So that's something that put my mind at rest as we got into like the new year. And then obviously my son's just recently been to hospital again. So one thing that probably truly made me happy last year was trying to cope with things a bit more better. Finding that, yes, everything was a bit of a struggle in that, but I still could cope to a point, and that, my mental health, as much as I would love it to just be okay, I think I've come to terms with the fact that it isn't, and that's fine. But truly, what's made me happy is realizing that no matter what's thrown at me, I can cope. Near enough. There's always going to be that one scenario that's just going to tip the scales, but up to a point, I would say I've managed to cope. Maybe not fully. I'm not going to say I'm like, the bee's knees when it comes to like worries and stress and stuff, but I would say that last year was quite bad. This year, actually, we're in like July now, and I must admit, this year hasn't been as bad. Now, I know you're going to say that, the world itself it's a dumpster fire. But financially, I've been a bit up and down. I'm trying to cope. I'm trying to find ways around it. Mental health has been up and down, not going to lie. Medically, Physically, well-being's a little up and down again. My son's health has been up and down. So we're having up and downs, but they're not all downs. We are bouncing back up, and maybe, yes, we're like going in limbo for a bit, but we are trying. And I think this year has been a little bit easier. And then I got a partner this year, which has made it 10 times easier, because you have someone to confide in, someone to talk to, someone to share what's going on, not necessarily take some of the burden, but someone to listen, which is half of the battle. I find sometimes is talking to somebody, putting yourself out there, making yourself vulnerable, sharing whatever you need to share with somebody can actually help you. And I never had that before. I never felt that I could share, because I always wanted to deal with stuff myself. And my partner has been, although we've only been together for 5 months, he's been wonderful throughout everything that I've had, with my cancer scare, with my son's health, with my health, my mental health. And he's been there tenfold and helped all the way, and just listened and been supportive, and the occasional hug when I've been having like really down days. It's the little things, it's the little things can make the biggest impressions in somebody. And I think every day that I have now found him, he is amazing. If you see this. And the last one for today is, name someone else you admire and what you admire about him or her. Name someone else you admire and what you admire about him or her. So, I'm going to say someone I do admire is Johnny Depp. So, hear me out. Johnny Depp had a pretty rough few years. Recently, the Amber Heard Johnny Depp thing, it is the trial that I think will go down in history of possibly the most comical, the most ridiculous, but also it stood for something. And, people were throwing him under the bus, and there were people that had his back, and he stayed strong. And I think I admire that. Even with all this being thrown at him, he stayed strong. He stayed true to himself. He stayed true to his word. And even after the trial, he didn't gloat. He didn't, whatever. He was a totally honest, natural person. He just carried on with his life. He's carried on. He's making tenfold, of what he was. He ain't let it bother him. He's just got back up, carried on, and I think that's the most beneficial thing he's done. He didn't let it get him down. The trial probably did take a toll on him, but his dedication, his admiration from people, the belief people had in him, the determination he had to prove, that he wasn't a bad person, although he did have a slight temper. Everybody has a flare up nowadays. Does that make you a bad person? Not necessarily. But he was true to himself, and even now he's still true to himself. He's dedicated, he's out there, he's doing stuff, he hasn't let it bother him. And I think I can really relate to, admiring just how much he's had in the last few years, and that he's still come out the outside of it with a smile on his face and determination. And I would say he's one of the people I admire. A lot of people will probably beg to differ, but he's one of the people I do admire as a celebrity, because he's humble, he's honest, he's generous, he seems such the kindest soul. So they were the questions for today. So we had a little bit of up and a little bit down. Let's go through the questions one more time. What distractions are hindering your growth? Write down 5 things you appreciate about yourself. What areas of your life are the most stressful for you? And this will probably be the same for everybody. What's one thing that happened last year that made you truly happy? And name someone else you admire and what you admire about him or her. And this was the It's Not All Doom and Gloom podcast episode whatever, because I can't remember the numbers. But if you enjoyed this podcast and you enjoy my honesty, my integrity, my determination, or just my little free gothic spirit, do consider liking and subscribing. This is basically a micro podcast. I like to keep them under 20, 25, 30 minutes. I don't need a podcast that lasts 3 hours, because who's going to hear me drone on for 3 hours? Believe me. But if you want to like and subscribe, you can also thumbs it up, share it out. If you'd like to help the podcast with a financial incentive, you can donate by PayPal or Super Chat. All of it goes back into my channel. And I have more and more content coming up for you. We are going to carry on throughout the year with these podcasts. Hopefully every 2 weeks is the goal. But we are coming up to number 100 next time. So we still have 265 to go. Dear God, look at all these. Look, 265 still to go. We have only done 100 so far. Can you imagine what questions we still have to answer? But you're going to have to wait till next time. So like and subscribe, give it a big thumbs up, share it out. If you'd like to help donate, remember all the links are always in the descriptions. This is the It's Not All Doom and Gloom podcast with the Midnight Raven, and I wish you a very happy, healthy day. Bye, guys.